And I'm Huong.
And we are with KaleidoWork. We like to shift perspectives on work and how leaders and teams can work better together.
And today the topic we want to talk about is how do you improve communications within your team without adding more meetings?
If you look at your calendar and you see like meeting and then another meeting and then a meeting and then lunch, but you're going to be meeting during lunch, and especially in a virtual space, no time between meetings, this is definitely a message for you because that is a pretty tough situation to be working in when you have no time for focusing or actually getting the work done.
So I'm going to share with you 4 ideas. The first one is a structure team update. So this is really interesting because pretty much every team I know do some sort of team updates, but they leave it up to the team to decide what to bring forward in these updates. And not everybody is very good at pulling out the essential information that their teammates need to know. So by introducing just a very simple structure to the team update, you can improve the quality of information that your team share with each other significantly. So that structure is 3 things. 1 is what is it that they've been working on since the last update? 2, what are they thinking about or what do they need the team's input on? And then 3, what, if anything, is blocking their progress?
I love having the structure as a way to kind of prepare ahead of time, right? So it would give me a chance to think about and ponder those questions so that I can actually share it in a more intentional and well thought out way, which also creates a record for the team to refer back to, I guess.
The next step that we would recommend is, do you need to do your team updates in an in-person live meeting all the time? Is there opportunity to do asynchronous team updates? I understand sometimes if you're trying to build relationship and getting the team to know each other, yes, in-person meeting is great, but whenever possible, think about shifting the team update to async. Because when people are forced to put pen to paper, they actually have to structure the information in a different way than you're just able to do it verbally. The other thing that a writing or async update is really helpful is if your team member had to be pulled into another meeting or they're on vacation, then here's a record that they can come back to and easily find out what's happened, why they were away.
So asynchronous is something that we're really big believers in, and that leads us into our second tip. Asynchronous office hours. This is particularly helpful for leaders who find that they can be a little bit of a bottleneck for their team. So if you have a back-to-back schedule and you have no time or availability, what might end up happening is that your team is chasing you down for answers. So our recommendation here is actually creating this asynchronous office hours concept. What that can look like is a Teams chat, and that is a place where all of the team members can contribute an idea or a question, and then everyone else is able to weigh in and support each other. So that takes the pressure off of you as a leader to be the only source of information. And then it also creates this knowledge base where everybody can go back and reflect on or search for other questions that were answered.
Yeah, and as a leader, you can then just set specific time during the day or during the week to look at this chat and either correct things if information has been updated or there are certain questions that your team raised that only you could answer. The third one is about matching your message to the medium. What is it that you need to communicate? What is the purpose? Are you providing information? Or do you need to actually discuss something and make some decision? And then trying to find the medium that match that purpose.
I think that this helps get us out of that default mode of email and meetings as being our only way to communicate when there are really a lot of amazing tools at our fingertips that we could be leaning on to get the message across better. One of my personal favorites is video. I think that it's such a powerful way for a leader to share information, either because it's just a really quick update and it doesn't require any back and forth, but it can also be really great for delivering perhaps more sensitive information. What video does is it allows you to share tone and body language as a part of the message, which we lose in email.
If you have to get people together because there's a decision to be made, that's okay. That's what meetings are for. But what we would advise or recommend is there an opportunity for you to add some asynchronous collaboration beforehand? So is it possible for you to share the information that people need to have, then maybe share 1 or 2 questions that you want people to consider in either a shared document or a Miro board, and then give people some time to go in there to share their thought. This way people have time to process the information, they can contribute more thoughtfully, and so when you do get together in a room, you're a few steps ahead.
And you're hearing from everybody, which means that you're going to end up with far more ideas, much more well-rounded information, and you're primed to make better decisions because you've allowed everybody to step up and share their perspective in the way that works best for them.
Yeah. And if you're working on a team, we have worked with some team that they are so strapped for time. Like leaders are working 10, 12 hours a day and they still can't get through everything. And so what happens is you send out information and you ask them to do a little bit of homework ahead of time and they just honestly can't get to it. If that is your situation, instead of avoiding it, accept that's your reality right now. And account for that time in your meeting. So maybe you have an hour-long meeting, the first 5 to maybe 10 minutes is dedicated time to orient people to the information that you have shared, give them some time to read it, process it. If the silence feels really uncomfortable for you, play some instrumental music. But the idea is making sure everybody is on the same page before you actually start the discussion so that the discussion is actually meaningful and you can arrive at the decision faster. Because what happens is we see leadership team get into a room, not everybody's on the same page, they don't all have the same information, and they just slowly realize that halfway through or maybe 10 minutes left into the meeting. So they have to book another meeting to continue the conversation because they didn't get to where they need to.
Yeah, exactly. So the final one is intentional check-ins. I think oftentimes teams will just naturally fall into communication habits and they won't take time to reflect and think about, how's this going? Is this working well? Are there ways that we can make this better? So our final tip is to have a conversation with your team where you are asking questions that encourage them to think about, how is their communication going? Like, what is working really well for us that we should continue doing? What's feeling kind of tricky about our communication? What might better look like? Those are really important conversations to have if you're wanting to ultimately improve communication on your team.
Yeah, and other questions that you can ask is, you know, what's one communication habit or practice that you have that make your work easier? Or what is a pet peeve that you have when it comes to the way that other people communicate or share information? What would be the way that we can manage how we communicate and share information within our team that meets everybody's needs?
And these conversations can feel a bit uncomfortable sometimes, right? So I think there are a couple of thoughts there. One is be really intentional about the purpose. This is an opportunity for us to get to know each other better. This is an opportunity for us to improve the way we work together. And then if it just feels too tricky to facilitate this kind of conversation, that's what we do. That's our strength and that's our expertise, is coming in and helping that dialogue happen in a healthy way, but making sure that we're not hiding from something that might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but actually holds a whole lot of potential to improve how a team communicates.
As a team, as you go through these conversations, what you wanted to get to is some sort of agreement. How do we want to manage work requests? Instead of having them sometime come in through a chat, sometime come in through an email, sometime come in through a hallway conversation. It can still come in through lots of different ways, but you have one single pathway for them so that everybody on the team know that's where they can find work requests and track things. Or maybe you'll have a single source of truth for decisions on your team. Sometimes things are only captured in an email or they're only captured in a Miro board. Have a single source of truth so that your team can stop wasting time looking for information.
Yeah. And once you've had this conversation, tons of ideas will come up. You don't have to do them all. I think the most powerful thing to do after the conversation happens is, yes, document all of the ideas, choose one thing. Focus on that for the next week, month, whatever the time period is, and just do a really good job of that. That's the best thing to do after that kind of a conversation.
Exactly. And that's what makes the intentional check-in work, because you know that down the road you will have an opportunity to revisit as a team and talk about, did that thing that we tried worked out the way we intended it to? Is there anything that need to be adjusted? Because, you know, as a team, as new technology come out or a new member join your team or someone leave your team, there's going to be new dynamics, right? So it's work that needs to keep on going.
That's something we always encourage is ongoing dialogue.
So those are the 4 ideas: a structured team update, asynchronous office hours, aligning your message with the medium, and an intentional check-in. Which one of these do you think you might apply to your team? Leave some thoughts in the comment. We would love to hear. And if this has been helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on your notification so that you can find out when the next video gets dropped. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next time.